Hello, and what's this week's Down for the Detail podcast? I'm Rob Paxson, and we're here talking all things Salford Red Devils. Joining the show this week, as ever, we got Paul Parkin. How's your week been, mate?
Yeah, good, pal. Very good. Yeah, very. It's gone by very quickly this week. I'm not dead sure why. I've just dawning on me that we're at the end of the week again, and I'm not sure where it's gone the rest of the week. But yeah, it seems to have flown by since Sunday, and yeah, it's been a pretty good week. How about yourself?
Yeah, both kids aren't sleeping now, Parky, so it's a war of attrition in our house. Who stays awake the longest? So I'm running about 3 hours sleep a day at the moment, which isn't healthy. But I'm here doing the podcast, feeling the energy, trying to lift the energies of the podcast, and having a good time at the same time.
Yeah, 3 hours a day.
Yeah, that's what I'm on at the moment.
I think I do mine in quarters, you see. So sleep basically 2/3 of a day. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I don't know how you're managing it, mate. I really don't. And then coming up with all this, it's craziness.
Yeah, I'm start hallucinating shortly. I think we've got to that stage. But hopefully get my head down before Sunday and see us play Wigan. And hopefully, if we win there, I won't be hallucinating.
Well, you never know. If we start winning at Wigan, I think you might be hallucinating. It doesn't happen very often, does it? But
no.
You never know. New season now.
New season, new beginnings. We're going to start talking about new stuff, Parker. Got a new game. This is called Try Again. It's a bit like higher and lower, like we had last time, but this time it's players and the amounts of tries they scored in their Salford career. Okay, according to the Rugby League project.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a Bible, that, isn't it? It's a great website. Brilliant.
So don't at me if you're going, he didn't score 30 tries, he scored 35 tries. Don't do that. Rugby League project, go see them. So we're going to start with Adrian Hadley. Okay. He scored 38 tries in his Salford career between 1988 and 1992. Right. So obviously what we'll do, we'll go higher and lower. And then for a bonus point, if you can name the actual number they scored, I'll give you a bonus on each person, if that makes sense.
I've just got one bone of contention to start with.
Go on, Parker.
Adrian Hadley definitely scored more tries than that. I think he scored about 31 in the second division. So is it first? Maybe
might be first division
tries. Okay, maybe. That's fine. That could make sense.
Like I say, email them.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, because sometimes they don't update. Yeah, that's okay. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, in 1991, he scored about 30 odd tries, I think, and but obviously it was second division. So, but yeah, okay.
Might be first division then.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Adrian Hadley, 38 tries between 1988 and 1992. The next one is Malcolm Alka. Did he score more or less than 38?
No, again.
Between 97 and 2010?
I mean, I know, again, it was the lower division, wasn't it? When we were in the championship, he scored an absolute hatful in that year, but I don't know if we're going to count that. If not, I would say less. Because I just don't.
You probably count the championship, you just don't count the second division.
Because if it was the championship, then it would definitely be more. Because again, in that 2003, I think he scored. Yeah, I can't remember, but he did score a hell of a lot of tries, especially for a hooker at that point. And he went through a period around then as well, didn't he? Where he was really good for a good 3 or 4 years, topping his game, and he did. I think it was when. I think David Heighton came into the club as well and put a bit of pressure on him in the hooking role, and he switched on. He was really good. So if that's the case, I'll have to say higher then.
Okay, so you're correct with higher, Parker. Right, so can you guess how many for a bonus point? Higher than 38.
50.
51. Oh, Parker, close. Oh. But no cigar, unfortunately. So Malcolm Alker with 51. The next one is Daniel Holsworth between 2010 and 2013. Did he score more or less than 51?
I would think less, because I think he was more of a creative player than a try scorer. He did score some goals as well, didn't he? He was a half decent goal kicker, but I would say less because I think his contribution was more setting up tries than scoring them.
Yeah, so you would be correct with less. So how many did he score?
I'd be surprised if he scored 15.
18. Close again. You're getting good at this. Not too. You're in the ballpark, which is all that matters. Next one is Anthony Stewart, Salford winger, between 2004 and 2006. Was it higher or lower than 18?
Oh, I'd have to say more. I'd have to say it's higher. Have to. But Tony Stewart.
Anthony Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say he played in a pretty poor team, but yeah, I'd say he scored more. I'd say he'd have to be in. Yeah. He scored more than Holdsworth, I would have thought. Yeah.
Is that your final answer? Don't forget.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anthony Stewart scored 16.
Is that all? That doesn't seem many, does it?
No, I was shocked by that because I do remember him being a bit of a flyer. I know he scored a wonder try against Castleford. He ran about 80 metres, beat about 8 men. But
yeah, I thought he scored a lot more than that. That's interesting. Yeah, he was quite a talented winger as well.
I know.
But he was a good player. Maybe he just didn't get the chances. Maybe that was
possibly.
Like I say, the team at the time I think was going through
transition.
Yeah, there's a lot. They weren't like every year. It seemed to be the same way, but that's interesting. That I wouldn't have known that. With him being a winger as well. But no, that's not many at all, is it? In a couple of years. But,
yeah. So 16 for him. Next one is Joel Moon. One season, 2012. Did he score more or less than 16?
Wow. I can't see him scoring more than 16 in a season. He was an unbelievably talented player. One of the best we've had in Super League, no, undoubtedly, until he another one that got homesick all the way to Leeds. Brilliant player. And again, another creative player. I think it was Jody Broughton outside him, or Danny Williams at the time.
Broughton.
They benefited unbelievably from his skill. I'm going to say he scored less than that because he was only here for a short period. But I dare say he scored 8 to 10, something like that.
It's less, but it's 11.
Right.
So you get 1 point for that one. So next one is Neil Baines, between 1999 and 2004. Higher or lower than 11? Asher Baines.
Again, he scored a few in 2003, I think, I remember him scoring against Lee, an absolute black. I think it might have been our first try of the season that year in the league. But he won't have scored many, Baines. I'm going to say he scored less.
You'd be correct with less. So how many?
I honestly can't see him scoring more than 6.
10.
10. Right. Well done, Baines.
Yeah.
Well done.
Next one is Jason Critchley, 92-93. I think he played 60 odd games in back then. Played a lot of games.
He was a bit of a flyer, especially when he first came. He hit the ground running. Funnily enough, he used to work in the job centre on Fountain Street in town. He used to go see him in lunch hour. Just random fact. More, definitely more. I think he probably in one season alone, I think he would have scored 16 tries at least.
Okay, so it is more. So how many do you think?
I'll go 32 in total.
I've got 51.
Right, that doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise you. He came, yeah. He was good when he came, Jason. A shame again. He's another one that his reputation at the club was tarnished by a move to Keighley at the time. Remember that?
I think his face got tarnished by Richard Webster at one point as well.
It certainly did. We don't talk about it. It was a clean tackle, perfect hit.
Next one is Rob Louis. Between 2016 and 2019, was it higher or lower than 51?
Lower, definitely lower. Definitely, he scored a few, but definitely lower than that.
Correct. So lower. So what's the number?
20.
35. I've got.
Wow. Wow, that is impressive. That is really. I didn't think he'd scored that many. Again, another player who was busy sort of setting tries up more than anything else and taking a few knocks off the ball. But no, brilliant. I mean, I love Rob Louis. I thought he was a real star for us, wasn't he? A cracker. But again, another one who went to Leeds. Sure what's going on.
Talk about Leeds, ex-Leeds players. Ben Jones-Bishop, 2015. Did he score more or less than 35?
Less.
Correct.
He
So do you know how many?
I don't think he scored as many as he should. Did he spend a lot of time out injured?
He did a bit.
And again, it should have been more because that team we had a great sort of lineup. But I'd say about 13.
Got 16, fortunately. Thing is, though, with Ben Jones-Bishop, never looked like he was in a rush.
No,
but he was moving quick.
No, yeah, absolutely. He didn't look like he had any pace at all.
Yeah.
And, he seemed to go around people. Very true.
Yeah.
I thought that he had a strange running style, but sadly it didn't really work for us, did it?
No.
With him, he could have been a worldie, I think, but certain players just fit certain clubs, and he wasn't for us.
That's it. Final one I've got is Joey Lussick, 2018 to 2020. Was it higher or lower than 16?
Oh, Joey. Now he was a poacher. One that I'll never forget. One of his tries, the semi-final against Warrington. Took us to Wembley. Sadly, not us as fans, but that pandemic. How many would he have scored? I'm sure he scored about 9 in 1 year, and then next year would he have scored that many? I'm going to say less, but only just.
It was more. It was 18. Unfortunately. So total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points, Parker.
Okay.
Good, solid 7.
Yeah, I can handle that. That's pretty good. That's more than I expected I'd get anyway. But he's the Tony Stewart one's really surprised me.
Yeah,
it does. Just strange how your memory plays tricks, isn't it? At times, he just seems to score a lot, but clearly not. He was on a thing at that time, and we were signing ex-Saints wingers. We had him, Gardner came in, and eventually Joey Hayes. There was a few, weren't there, we had from Saints. And I suppose none of them really set the world on fire, did they?
No.
Francis Melly.
Yeah, what it is, maybe we didn't score many, but he scored the ones we did. So it did feel like he scored loads. That might be it.
Maybe the ones he did score stand out. Maybe they were just good tries.
Maybe. Worldies.
I like that. I enjoyed that.
Good stuff. Enjoyed that. Hope our listeners enjoyed the fun as well. So now we're going to talk about the game against Swinton. So we beat Swinton in a friendly at the AJ Bell Stadium, 24 points to 20, Parker. First half, Paul Rowley's first team. Second half, Stuart Wilkinson's reserves. Thought it was a good game. I thought, the first team, Paul Rowley's team, just blew the cobwebs off. Didn't do anything spectacular. Played out the sets and built a good lead. And then second half, the reserves came on and showed plenty of heart. And obviously Swinton, a team, of better quality, and a championship quality. So they did test them. But I think as a whole, I think it was a good workout for everyone.
Yeah, well, confession time, first of all. Much to my embarrassment, I didn't make the game on Sunday. Hanged head. Yeah, slight mistiming. It kicked off half an hour before I expected. And there was no way I was going to make it when I realised. But I did follow it all on Twitter. And I've obviously spoken to people since. From what I can sort of gather, it was men against boys in the first half, and the same, but in reverse in the second half, where we throw on all our young kids, all our reserves who aren't even academy, they're learning all the time, against a much sort of stronger and more experienced Swinton side who, as we said last week, I'd already played a couple of friendlies. They've beaten a St. Helens select side, so at St. Helens. So we expected it to be fairly tough. I thought it might be from just what you get from Swinton. But I don't know. I mean, you can tell me. But in the first half, was it as convincing as it should be? Were we as slick maybe as you expected?
Yeah, I thought we played some good rugby. I don't think we got out of sort of second gear, but Paul Rowley, it's just about blowing out the cobwebs and going through the processes. I thought, individually, I thought Oliver Partington was really good, showed some good touches. Ellis Longstaff try on his debut. He was very good for me. Like I say, nothing of him. I think Paul said last week he's not built big, but he's a good, works hard, enthusiastic, which is usually what you want in your pack. And obviously Brodie Croft working his magic, made a couple of tries, in the game, and that's what you need. You just need your players just to do a bit, get loose, and then get ready for the next game. I thought the tries, Rhys Williams one and Ken Seal one, went over in the corner, showed good creativity. Putting the wingers over in the corner. Andy Ackers, he went under the post after a lovely break from Brodie Croft, and obviously Ellis Longstaff took a pass for him. Brodie Croft spun out of tackle and scored, and Ryan Brierley scored at the end with a long pass to, I think it was Kensio, and then Kensio put him back inside, and Brierley went over to score. So like I say, at 24-0 at half time, I think Paul Rowley was quite happy with what happened. And obviously in the second half with Stuart Wilkinson, he openly admitted that they haven't had enough sort of time as a first team has had to prepare. So it was just like all about just sort of working hard, tackling, getting out as a team and playing what they can in where they are in their sort of process. And he was quite happy with what was dished up as well. So I think, Parky, as well, which I think is an important thing, is we talk about opportunity, don't we? And the whole, obviously, the squad involved and people looking from the outside in will see this and think, Salford give opportunity. The reserves were allowed to obviously go and play Swinton, who are a good side. They've got promoted to the championship, so they have got some good players in that team and test themselves. And that's what it's all about at this stage of the season. Because obviously the reserves have got a couple of fixtures to come in their division. Also play a friendly against Hunslet this week, so opportunity to build some fitness ahead of that game as well. So it was a win-win for everyone, really.
Yeah, I'm sure, if I'm sure Paul Rowley would have loved to have, I think we had 5, 6, 7 players missing anyway from the first team. It'd have been nice to sort of mix them with the younger kids a little bit more and give them more of a chance, a bit more, experienced heads on the pitch to guide them around maybe. And some of them tries that Swinton ended up scoring may not have been scored. But at the same point, I mean, sometimes you just have to throw people in and see what they can do. And I spoke to Paul Rowley on Monday evening. At the supporters trust meeting, and he was full of praise for the young lads. He couldn't fault their effort and their attitude and everything else, and it's a big step up from where they're at to playing in a game like that. And obviously he wouldn't have wanted them to have scored 20-odd points against us, but I think that's what you get at that level. And Swinton they've got a big season coming up, and people are tipping them to be bottom of their league, because it's a tough league they're going into in the Championship, and they've got points to prove to each other. So I think when they've gone in at half time and seen the score, they're thinking we're not even putting up a fight against these. Let's go out in the second half fired up and determined. And then it turns out that they're playing against lesser opposition, and that's going to happen. But I think the key for us is getting the first team running, getting them up and about. We only have this and that and the Wigan friendly this week before we meet Lee. So I'm sure as Paul Rowley said at the time, it was about just blowing the cobwebs away and having a run, going through what they've worked on in training, but not overdoing it, not overstretching themselves, and we got a result out of it, and hopefully Paul Rowley's come away with a better idea of what his team can look like for that first game.
Yeah, people who stood out for me for the reserves, Stuart Wilkinson's reserves, were Toby Hughes, the scrum half. He looked like a busy player. Jack Stevens, also another light in that team. Matty Unsworth works hard. You can't fault his effort, and also Chris Waller, thought he was great as well. So lots of positives to look forward to. Stuart Wilkinson would have seen that, and obviously looking to produce more with Hunslet on Friday. So I spoke to Paul Rowley and Stuart Wilkinson in the press conference after the game, and this is what they had to say. So that was Paul Rowley and Stuart Wilkinson talking to us after the game, and like we said before, Paul Rowley wasn't too excited. He's not too high, not too low. That's one of his sayings. He was sort of happy, like I said, that we blew away the cobwebs and we go again.
Yeah, that's usually Paul's way, isn't it? That's the way he speaks. That's the way he does things. There's no point, getting excited one way or the other. It was, first sort of run out of the season, and a chance to see what he could do. I think only having 40 minutes in the legs for the first team, lads, is not ideal for us. But I think the other thing is that he's got to be careful with only having a small squad. If you overdo it, or if we play too many friendlies, there's a chance you're going to lose more players, and that's something we can ill afford. So I think he's got it about right, and it's time now to go back into training for the next couple of weeks, and just work on the finer points. I know, like I say, we've got to run out this Sunday in a testimonial, but it's more, you can do anything in training, and you can look like a world beater, but when you put up against an opposition and one like Swinton who we're going to fight against us, I'm sure that Paul's picked up a few things, but he did sound, he's sound reasonably happy with what he'd seen. I think he got what he expected.
Yeah, Stuart Wilkinson was also happy with what his lads produced. Talked about the 1%ers, the little margin moments in the game that he saw from his lads, showing that they are willing to go that extra mile, and that's the important thing in it. Obviously, if they want to develop as players, they want to be able to do that, and I think he was quite impressed with that. Gave a few examples of players doing that 1% extra, which sort of gave him confidence for the season to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again this week against Hunslet is another big test for these lads. So it's interesting to see where they go. But it's all about learning with them, isn't it? And I said last week, and I know, speaking to Paul Rowley, Stu Wilkinson's a brilliant coach, great at what he does, and perfect for developing these young lads and giving them all the advice and the chances that they need. And really looking forward to seeing them again this year. I know we'll hopefully, from what I heard the other night, we'll have a few double headers maybe, so we better see them before first team games when we can. And I think that's what they need as well, a bit more spotlight on them, a chance, because it's easy when there's 5 or 6 people watching you. It's when the pressure's on as well, like it would have been on Sunday. So it's going to be interesting to see how these young lads develop, but it's good just for them to get a run out.
Yeah, also talked about the two sort of lads from the reserves who've sort of got promoted to the first team, Joe Cooper Franklin and Billy Walkley, and how much interest that's sort of produced in Wales and people down there on this, exciting news, and I suppose it is very exciting for people who see Salford as a pathway into the game. So yeah, very excited about that too.
Well, speaking to Paul again the other day, Paul Rowley, he was full of praise for these Welsh lads. He knows in development terms that some of them are probably quite a bit behind because they've not been brought through in a rugby league environment. They're not, they're not rugby league lads, and they're learning the game as they go, mixed in with these guys, like Jack Stevens and people like that who've been playing the game all their lives, I suppose. But he was full of praise for them. He said their attitude and everything about them. He said they've got all the equipment to go all the way. You just need to learn. And this, again, playing against Swinton on Sunday and Hunslet this week gives them that building block, I suppose, to get better, to be, to learn the game. Because it's all right being an athlete and, whatever else. You might have the build, the size, the speed. But it's actually the rugby smarts that you need. And that's something they'll only learn by playing the game. So, but yeah, no, Paul was, full of praise for him, and it's a great opportunity now, and hopefully, like you say, I mean, we've said for many years that Wales is a hotbed, and could be a hotbed for rugby league, and there's talent down there that they're not all going to play rugby union, and they're just, they're going to waste, and we've got that tapped up now, and I think, like you've just said there, I think other lads will look at that and think, I fancy my chances at that, and if Salford come knocking, then I'm going.
Yeah. So yeah, happy both sets, both coaches happy with what each team produced, and obviously springboard for bigger and better things to come. So that's our look back at the Swinton win, and now we'll look and see what's happening in the world of Salford Red Devils. So Parky, we'll start with the big news about Brodie Croft, and allegedly Australian clubs coming in for him.
Yeah, well, all I can say is few at the moment. St. George have obviously come in and spoke with him and his agent or whatever, and offered money to us. And I'm actually so proud. I mean, we're not out of the woods yet. Anyone could come back and try again, but I'm so proud of our club for turning him down, knocking him back, and saying, if you want him, you pay us what he's worth. Because too many times in the past, and not under this regime, but previous regimes, that we've just sort of taken it, and teams have come in and poached our best players, and off you go. We mentioned before during the try thing about the amount of players that have gone off to other clubs. I woke up this morning reading that, and I was a bit shocked because I'm waiting on the news of Brodie Croft signing a new deal at Salford, and then I read, hang on a minute, he's nearly gone to St. George. And I won't put it. I've got no problem with it if he goes. The guy's an amazing player and should be playing NRL. He should be playing at the top. But it'd be absolutely devastating for us. 2 weeks before the season starts, we wouldn't. We'd find it hard to replace him anyway. But in that time, no, I don't think so. And I think rightly Paul King and Ian Blees and whoever else was involved have looked at the money involved and gone, no, it's not. It's not enough for us to let this guy go. And I hope now Brodie's seen the determination the club have shown that he's trying to keep him, and he can, maybe put his put his name on a piece of paper and say, yeah, I'm going to stay. Because I was reading the other day that how much he loves it here, and his family loving it here, and he'd love to go on and win something with us or whatever. So. But it was a shock. It really was a shock this morning. But let's just hope we can keep fending them off.
Yeah, I think it was important, like you said, that the bid was rejected, like you said, because 2 weeks before the season, where you're going to find somebody who's half as good as Brodie Croft, it's going to cost you mega money to prize someone out of it. So I think it was the correct decision. Obviously, he's got 12 months to run on his current contract, which is, I suppose, is a problem if he doesn't sign a new one at the end of it. So I suppose, like you said, the brains trust have decided obviously to reject it and hope that down the line he does sign and he doesn't leave for nothing in 12 months time. Hopefully he won't do. Hopefully the deal can be done. And we could build a team around him because he's so important to us, Parky. But it is, I suppose, the bad side of being an opportunity club, that you give someone that opportunity, he goes above and beyond what you expect, and then somebody with more money comes in and says, we'll take him off your hands. But this time we've said no, which is progress for me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we saw it with Jacko, didn't we? The same sort of thing. A guy who was cast aside in the NRL, and nobody was going to touch him with a barge pole, and Ian Blease brought him over. And well, the rest is history, isn't it? We don't need to, don't need to bang on about that. But I mean, it'd been very easy for us to take the money. But clearly, we're a club without any. We've got a small squad. We could have had 2-3 players for the money they were offering, but you don't replace a player like Brodie Croft that easily. And to replace him would have cost us more than we were getting. So it's kind of in many ways it's a no-brainer. But that money they could have easily justified it by saying we took the money because it could save the club for another 12 months. We're going to go out now and sign a couple of players from the Championship, or maybe another, someone from another Super League club. But it'd have been devastating for us as fans and the club. I'm sure the team as well, because I think the team are now used to him being, the main man in that team, and you don't want to be upsetting things. And the players are going to look and go, well, where's the ambition? What are Salford standing for at the moment? They're willing to just let the best player go every time. They're not going to progress. And with Brodie Croft in that team, with the backline that we've got, and certainly now the addition of the forwards we've had in the last 12 months, there's real progress, and there's a chance for us now to actually become that regular top 6 team that we want to be. But you do need a Brodie Croft in there. You need that one special player who's going to do that. Them little things that we saw last year, certainly to the back end of the season. I mean, he was unplayable at times. Yeah,
we're a club that's growing. We're not a club that's hanging on and trying to save for the next 12 months. We're a club in every department, growing and getting bigger. So to keep Brodie Croft is a step in that direction. So I think it's great. I think the problem is I'm not sure who it is. I think, is it an Huddersfield winger or a Settles winger that's going to the NRL? And a lot of talk about, whether there's enough talent in our sport and how we keep the talent, and they don't stop them going to Australia or into rugby union. And I think that is a problem. So I suppose if we can manage to keep hold of Brodie Croft, it would be, a real shot in the arm for Super League 2.
Yeah, well, we've said this for a long time about players leaving our sport, or certainly leaving Super League, and there's an argument of salary cap. Does it need raising? Well, not in our case, no, because we don't reach the salary cap now. So what all that would do would make Wigan, Saints, Leeds, Warrington, Hull, Catalan, Huddersfield spend more and have more, and those that don't will have, won't be able to compete. And I think that'd upset the sport even more, because you would have a 2-tiered top league, and that's not going to work. I know that's probably what people are looking for, but I don't know if that's quite the right way. But there's got to be a way of keeping all the talent. I'm not really sure what that is, like you said, unless it is money. But some of the younger lads that are going, and they've got a lot. I think some have seen the success of certain players who've gone over certainly over to Australia and earned good money, but it doesn't work for everybody. And they've got to be very careful, because some of these players are only just making the mark in Super League. To try the NRL is a massive step, and I don't know what the answer is, but for me, it's a chance. There's so many players in Australia already. You know what I mean? They just produce. I mean, we've got Brodie Croft, we've got Tim Laffey, who can't get games or couldn't get games over there. You kind of think, what do they want our players for? But no, for me, I think the club have done the right thing. They've already obviously offered him a contract. We don't know the ins and outs. We never will. It's not for us to know. But we wouldn't be able to compete with St. George on wages. That's an absolute, definite, or any NRL team, because of the salary cap over there and the fact that they can raise the funds. The only thing that would put St. George off, obviously, is the asking price, and then having to pay him. He might be on $200,000-$300,000 on top of a couple of $250,000, signing on fee. Is it worth it when they've got players over there? I don't know. So no, good on us. Good on us. And what I would do now is I don't know they're going to anyway. We should get hold of him, get him under contract, and say, if you want him, you're going to have to break the bank.
Yeah,
we don't want to let him go.
Mm-hmm. The player I was thinking about was called Lewis Murphy. Plays for Wakefield, and he's in the NRL. Well, they're trying to get him to the NRL, but like I said, it's Megan, like you said, they've got 3 times the size of our salary cap, so they could throw 80, 100 grand at somebody, and they'll walk straight there. Because like you said, it's a numbers game, innit? Unfortunately, it will help the game as a whole because they'll go to Australia and they'll get better and they'll bring it back. But as a clubs in the Super League, you want to keep your talent, don't you? So that's an interesting situation there. Now the RFL and the Super League clubs managed to stave off these Australian clubs that look at our players and think, oh, we'll take him for X amount. But is it just about knowing where you are in the food chain, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Murphy, Kai Pearce-Paul, Will Price, all going to the NRL. That will scare people. But it's our job as well then to produce more players, of that quality, and they will be there, and opening up new avenues like we're doing in Wales. And giving these kids, the talent's there. Rugby League's been producing great players for 100 odd years, 130 odd years or whatever. It's what we do. So there's no need to panic like that. But I do understand people's frustration when some of the better players do leave our league. But maybe that's, like you say, it's just where we are in the food chain, unfortunately. It's where Super League sits. And even if you raise the salary cap, to, I don't know, 3 million, he's still not going to compete with the Aussies. They're still going to come in and buy your best players. So unless you're on a level par, which we'll never get to because we can't afford that, I don't see where the outcome is.
Yeah, but if you raise your salary cap to 3 million quid, Salford aren't going to get any. I mean, it's still going to pay what they are now.
Yeah.
It's just extra, numbers on a piece of paper somewhere that we could spend up to 3 million quid, but we're only going to spend whatever 1.2 or whatever because that's all we can afford.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm thinking more of the big players, shall we say? Warrington could easily get there with the backers and so on, but again, it wouldn't stop the NRL coming poaching the best players because they'll still offer more. So, where do you go until you're on, a level? And that's what IMG have got to come in and do and try and get us somewhere near that with sponsorship. And I learned on Monday night about the TV deal this year. It's quite frankly embarrassing.
Is that?
The clubs get nothing really. I know in recent years it was it 20 odd grand for a Thursday and 15 for a Friday game. That doesn't happen this year. Wow. That's not happening. You're not getting anything. So, who's coming up with these deals? And that's what needs sorting out at the top of the game and get more money into the Super League and into the Championship to help us keep producing and then keep hold of these players. That's the only way. But that's a rant for another show, I think.
Yeah. Other news which we mentioned before: Joe Coop Franklin and Billy Walkley promoted to the first team. We talked last week, didn't we, about whether 28 players in a squad was big enough or not? Answers no, 30 is bigger.
Yeah, and who knows where they can go? And again this year they're going to be learning. They're training with the first team now. They'll pick up more. I mean, can you imagine these kids who've just come into this squad and they're next to Brodie Croft, the man of steel, the best player in the league, the experience of someone like Mark Sneyd in there and Callum Watkins and Tim Laffey and Kenny Sale. What a boost it must be for them. And they'll see that and they'll get their heads down and train hard and work hard and hopefully at some point this season, it may have come too soon, but can contribute in some way to the team. It'd be good to get a decent sort of cut draw somewhere, a lower league team where we can give them a real run out with certain members of the first team, rather than, like we said about the second half last week, where you just throw all the kids on together. It's difficult for them to give them a chance to play alongside some of these players. But it's great news that we now see the fruits of the labour already coming through.
Yeah, I talked to Paul Rowley about it in the press conference today, and he mentioned the fact that these lads aren't for now; they're for end of the season, possibly beginning the next season. I think it's Coop Franklin's injured. I think he pulled his hamstring or tear his hamstring on Sunday, so he's out for a bit. Billy Walker, I think he's playing in the reserves on Friday at Hunslet. So, like I say, it's all about development, it's all about learning, and like I say, being around the first team, training with them, bring them on leaps and bounds, and end of the season, beginning of next season, if Paul Rowley thinks that they can, do a good 20 minutes, he has no qualm about putting them on, which is what it's all about, being an opportunity club. You've got the pathway there. And, we're seeing it work. Next bit of news is tickets for Warrington away are available. Don't forget, the club get, I think it's up to 25% if you buy the ticket at the AJ Bell. So important, obviously, the way the world is at the moment, and obviously all the clubs wanting that a little bit extra, is if you are going to Warrington, make sure you get down to the AJ Bell and purchase your ticket there. Club benefits, and the more the merrier.
Yeah, Paul King was mentioning it again the other night. Very important. What all we're doing is if you're going straight to the ground and buying it from the home team on the day, it's just dead money for us. Dead money for you, really. Give it our club 25% of every ticket. I mean, I mentioned it last week, but can you imagine if everybody of the 4,000, 5,000, whatever turned up at Saints had all bought them from our club?
Yeah.
And we all got, we got a percentage. I mean, if we did that every week, the club would be a lot better off. We don't get great home support. We know that's something we've got to grow. Although I know you spoke to Ian Blease, didn't you? And he's mentioned that season ticket sales are up, which is brilliant. We don't know by how much. I don't understand. I don't know the numbers, and again, we don't need to. But if you can buy your tickets for the away games from the club, it's just going to boost our coffers for what we might miss out on home games. And certainly, I mentioned again last week about the Hull KR game being on a Thursday night, same night as United are playing Barcelona. It's all on TV. They're not. But that's going to be a tough one to sell. So we need money coming in. So the more it can buy for the league game, the Warrington game from the club, the better off we're going to be to try and balance them books.
Yeah, obviously, Ian Blease did say it up. Didn't give us actual numbers, but I didn't expect him to. I don't expect him to say, 865 up, because it'd be like, how do you know that off the top of your head? But I think it was good. I think obviously people have started to jump on the Salford Red Devils bandwagon, and that's important. Obviously, moving forward, we need bigger crowds, more season tickets. Like I said, get to Warrington or any away game, get yourself down the club, and purchase your tickets there. Next bit of news, Supporters Trust. You went to the meeting on Monday, Parker. Bit of question and answers with Paul Rowley and Paul King. What was it like? Fill us in.
Yeah, I wasn't actually at the AGM, as I hadn't actually paid my membership by that point. I had by the end of the night. Don't worry about that. I am now fully all paid up member, as I should be. Very embarrassing. No, it was really good. Paul Rowley's nothing if not honest. He's an entertainer when he talks. He's got the banter, but just a quality rugby league man. He loves the sport. You can tell when he talks about it, and his ideas for the game itself, not just about Salford Rugby League, about rugby league in general. And he's got some fantastic ideas, and he thinks. I think he thinks along the same lines as me. So maybe I don't know. Maybe that's not a great thing. I don't know. But he's the way he wants to play rugby. He wants to get back to the skillful players winning the games, not these big, 6'8" brutes that are just big solid blokes like Bradford were in the early 2000s. He wants players to be able to play. He wants halfbacks to have skill about them, centres to be able to do a bit. But overall, no, it was great to listen to him. Like I say earlier, he spoke about the new lads coming into the squad, and I asked him about obviously the World Cup and everything, about how did that affect, and he said at times they had 7 or 9 players turning up at training. It must be difficult because it's taken away from his pre-season, so all that started slowly, but he was happy with the progress that everybody made. And overall, it was just a really good chat with him. He's very open, and he had no great revelations about anything. Obviously, he said he'd like more players, but that's obvious, of course he would. But he's very happy with what he's got, and he knows it's a very talented bunch of players.
Yeah, he's very black and white for me. Yeah. He tells you how it is, and he doesn't deviate from what the question is, and he doesn't, like with Richard Marshall. For me, he was a bit more of a philosophizer. He just, Paul Rowley's nothing like that. He just, this is the question, that's the answer, done, and that's great, because obviously I think players need to know where they stand, don't they? So if you've got a coach who's straight down the line, who'll say this was good, this was rubbish, you know where you stand, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what comes across with him. That's why I like what he says. He's not trying to butter us up. He's not trying to say, oh, with this, with that, we can do it. He's being honest. He knows how difficult it is, how difficult it's going to be this season. He's not going to gloss over anything, but he's still full of hope and ambition that the top 6 is ours. If we play to what we can do, he knows what talent we've got. But he is very black and white, but he's funny. He's very funny. I can see why the players. I know at the end of last year he was on Channel 4. And they were interviewing the players and asking. Sometimes they don't really know what he's going on about, something like that. He's definitely got a sense of humour about him, and I think he's been a bit dry at times. I asked him about Lee and their new branding. Obviously, being a Lee lad as he is, and he's very proud of his own town, and he swerved the question very well. I don't think he was overly impressed with their new branding, but he's got a lot of love for Lee. I asked him about winning at the Sports Village is something we don't do, and he reminded me that it's him that's beat us. So he knows. He knows all about that place, and he's saying how intimidating it can be. That big stand behind the sticks and all that kind of thing. How they use the crowd to get the players going, and so he knows all their tricks and so on. But no, brilliant, great to listen to him. And then Paul King came up and had a few words. I obviously I don't know how much we can sort of divulge, but he was again very open as he is. I mean, anyone who spoke to Paul King knows. You're getting it straight. There's no waffle. He is straight to the point. Obviously, the stadium. He spoke about the car parking thing that's come in that the club knew nothing about until about a week ago. Nobody had told them. Nobody had spoken. So that's being negotiated at the moment, and hopefully something will change. So basically, watch this space, but we don't fully know. And the stadium, the big sticking point. He's looking, or the club are looking to put a statement out in the next. He said 7 to 10 days. We don't know. There's still a lot to go on. A lot of work going on behind the scenes. But it appears that the Seb Gerrard thing is dead in the water. Not sure Seb was, from what I can make out, was really interested in the rugby club at all, and was more interested in the stadium. If he'd have got the stadium, maybe he might have invested, maybe not. We don't know. But Paul King had spoken to him only a few times, and I don't think Paul really got the impression that he was overly interested. So, but about the stadium, it's a case of just watch this space.
And that's what it is. I suppose, obviously, we'll have to wait and see. But I think having him involved in that process gives me confidence that we will get the result which we require. Because obviously that's what he does. He negotiates, and that's a thing that we want. We want to come out of the deal strengthened more than we are now. Yeah,
I mean, you mentioned Moore Lane and the whole fact that we would have had to sort of buy out Gary Neville's lease on it or whatever it is, and everything, and all the work that needed it. And it was something like £9 million. Now, if we had £9 million, we wouldn't be looking to move in the first place. So, it was a non-starter. The whole car parking issue around there, I think, is a no-go really for us. And the other thing is AMG. How would they and the Super League look upon us at Moore Lane? The AJ Bell is a much better facility, isn't it? Let's be honest. And it's what modern sport is about, whether we love it or loathe it. But no, Paul was very, very matter of fact, very honest, as I say. But he sounded optimistic. and that's all we can hope for. And like you've just said there, with Paul at the helm, he's going to do his best for us. He'll look at all options. He's not going to just settle for the first one, but he can only really play with the cards he's dealt. And we've got to be very careful where we tread. But I think good things will come out of this now.
He's got ice. He's got ice in his veins, though. He's not going to blink first. That's for sure.
Yeah, he is a very cool character. He is. But yeah, no, he was honest, like I say. And he mentioned obviously about the support, about we need the money to come in. I think something's going to some more stuff's going to come out about the 150 club and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, all good. Lots of stuff to look forward to. And then on the trust itself, obviously there was talk of the upcoming 150th celebration at Beulah Park. There are limited, very, very limited tickets available now. I believe they just got like one last batch of 20 or something. So if you do want to go, obviously contact Shirley Bradshaw, or I'm sure Dennis Rowley will be able to help as well, or anyone at the trust, because it sounds like it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, just make sure you get the time right, like somebody else who didn't at a recent event.
Yes, do that.
Other news, touch rugby, Eccles College on a Tuesday night, Salford Red Devils Foundation and the NQ Rebels, 7 till 8. I've seen pictures, Parky, and good turnout. Very impressed. Lots of people getting involved, which is great. Obviously, keeps you fit, and you're playing the best game in the world.
Yeah, and there's a social aspect as well, isn't there? I mean, a lot of people, unfortunately, at the moment, probably don't have, the spare cash going around or anything like that to keep nip to the pub and see your mates or whatever, whatever it is. And it's no good being sort of stuck in the house. I can tell you that. But yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah, it does look like a lot of fun, and it's good that people are taking it up. And hopefully, when I'm 100% fit, it's something that I'm going to look to do, along with wheelchair rugby and everything else. I don't think I'll ever get right. But yeah, it is a good thing, and I know that, again, like I say, it's well organised, isn't it? The people who are running it are know what they're doing, so it's a bit of fun.
Heather Robertson will be there now. Just you could hear the wheels of the wheels off the path as she's wheeling that wheelchair towards the front door for you to get involved.
She'll rope me in eventually, I'm sure.
So, last bit of news, Parker, which was broke tonight, that there is a new club website. I think it looks really good for me. Mosaic Digital Media and the club cooperating on it. It looks sharp, looks professional, lots of information on it. I think it'll be good. We've talked about before how important it is to get ourselves out there, and having a good website really helps you sort of reach out to the real world.
Well, that's the window to the world, really, isn't it? That and social media. You've got to have a really strong website. Sometimes I think the last one maybe didn't work totally for us in terms of navigation and that kind of thing. So these guys are the experts at what they do. I had a brief look earlier on. Looks fine, looks easy enough to sort of get around. So, it is important to have a website. I thought a few years ago, people were putting too much emphasis on that, but that's the way it's gone, and that's what we need. And it's the first place you're going to look, if you want to know who they're playing next, or, how much it's going to be, or whatever else, that's where you're going to head. So it's got to be sharp, it's got to be easy. So yeah, good news, and it went on behind the scenes. Nobody knew we were doing this, did they? So, and then all of a sudden it's launched. So
yeah, I think the important part of a website is keeping it up to date, really, and having sort of your contact details, because people will go to the website to try and contact the club. So as long as there's sort of contacts available for people to engage, and also have information on there and stories. I know there's a story from David Clegg doing a sort of 5 or 6 different things on there, which and he produces some quality stuff, doesn't he? So it's well worth a read that. So yeah, very impressed. Hopefully more to come.
Yeah, content's important. Like you say, David Clegg knows his stuff. I mean, what he don't know about Salford, not really worth knowing, is it? Let's be honest. He's been there and seen it all. I don't know, at the moment, he's got one, I think, with Alan Grice.
Yeah, that's it.
From the 70s. A really nice bloke, Alan. He'll have some great stories. So, yeah, that kind of thing, just to keep, like you said, keep it updated, keep things fresh. And I think people will learn a lot more about the club. New fans that go on, the history, especially this year with it being 150 years. So yeah, content. I'm sure the club will be happy if somebody wants to provide somewhere along the lines. But it's good. It's good to see.
Yeah. So that's all the news, Parkin. Now we'll see what's happening in the world of rugby league with Whitesides World of Rugby League. So that was Whitesides World of Rugby League. Not here tonight, keeping Britain warm. Hopefully he'll be back next week. So now let's look forward to both games this weekend. So we'll start with the reserves. They travel to Hunslet on Friday. Paul, obviously Stuart Wilkinson's boys, obviously after 40 minutes against Swinton, looking for a full 80 and to get the gears going.
Yeah, another step. Hunslet have got some decent, I don't know what the word is really, but pros who've been around the game. They'll test these lads. They'll give them, and it's a big, big game for Hunslet in many ways. They've got to get their season started well, so they'll put out a full team and have a real go. It was another test for these kids to see just what they've got. I think it's a great chance. The more you mentioned it tonight, the more I think I wouldn't mind going to that, but I can't see me travelling to the South Leeds Stadium on a Friday night to watch the reserves. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's the best use of my time for a friendly.
I think he's angling for a lift.
I would like to go. I'm really keen on watching these lads. I want to see what how good they are and how much they've come on since last year. But if it had been the AJ Bell, I'd have definitely gone down and watched it. But bit too much. I've done daft things before. I've been to Carlisle to watch the A team. That's just stupid. But it is a big test. And again, Stu Wilkinson will learn more about his lads, and they'll learn more off him. And like I say, playing against sort of chiseled old pros at times as well is a massive step for them. I just wish them well. I hope they just come through it, learn a few things, and get prepared for the season now, and everybody stays fit. And who knows, these lads that play on tomorrow night might feature later in the season. Yeah, so big steps.
Yeah, Rob Warrensy plays for Hunslet now, and he's got some tries behind him. So, like you said, it'll be a good test for these young lads. I know Nathan Taylor played after his injury on Sunday, so he's back in action. England University sort of student there. We've got some good players there, as well as Toby Hughes, like I said before, Jacob Lee. The big sort of second row. There's players who, like you said, Parky, if they get game time and continue to develop, Parky, Paul Rowley, too many Pauls at Salford, that's the problem. Paul Rowley he'll may give him an opportunity, and that's what it's all about. And obviously, if you want to give Parky a lift, don't forget just to tweet him, and he'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah. So let's talk about the main event Sunday. Sam Powell's testimonial. We play Wigan at Wigan. Obviously, after Sunday's game against Swinton, a step up in quality there.
Oh, undoubtedly. Wigan looked. They were good last year, weren't they? They went so far. For a while, they were my favourites to win the league last year. I know they fell away in a very poor game against Leeds in the playoffs. But no, you know what you're going to get from Wigan, don't you? It doesn't really matter what side you put out, especially at home. They don't lose at home, very, very rarely. And the other thing for us is that with the reserves playing on Friday, a lot of them won't be available for Sunday. So we're just going to have to stick with the bare bones of what we've got. So some of our players will get big minutes this week. Obviously, we don't know the outcome from last week as to if anybody's going to miss out, picked up a knock or anything like that. We're not 100% on that, but it's a big test, a really big test. But this is Super League now. We're going to meet them late in the season, so it's a good chance to test ourselves, see how far we've come, because, like I say, we don't have a great record at Wigan anyway. And I know this is only a friendly, but it's nice to see if we've made some advance and can put them under a bit of pressure.
It'd be interesting to see how strong both teams go, because Wigan, I think, played Barra last week and lost with a scratch team there. We played 40 minutes against Swinton. So it'd be interesting to see, obviously, with 2 weeks to go to the first game of the season, whether both teams will play a strong side and sort of bring people on, or whether they'll play, want the more minutes for the strong team. Be interested to see what happens both teams, because obviously, like you said, we're running short of bodies at the moment, it sounds like, so we won't be one of the risking our important players if we can.
Yeah, it's a tough one, really, isn't it, for us? Because obviously Paul would want to get the players having a run out, Paul Rowley, but then he doesn't want injuries. But then you've got players with injuries, so other players are going to. Very tough situation already at this early stage. But we just got to hope that we can come through it, with a clean bill. Really, the result is irrelevant at the end of the day. It's all about Sam Powell's day, isn't it, and raising a bit of money. I'm sure he's got a charity to go to as well. So best luck with that. And one interesting thing to look out for on Sunday will be the referee's use of a green card.
All right.
I'm led to believe it's being brought in for the Super League season. We've asked, and Wigan have also asked, if it can be used on Sunday for the first time, which is for when a player's injured, but they don't want to go off, or what. It's a very strange, convoluted idea. I couldn't really get my head around the whole reason for it and what the need is, but it's to do. Obviously, if a player goes down injured, the referee can pull out the green card. I'm presuming he can be subbed for no reason, without actually using a sub or whatever. If it's a head injury, I don't 100% sure, but it's so. If you see a referee pull out a green card, don't think he's just gone mad. Although it is a Super League referee, there's every chance he has gone mad. But so it's just something that was mentioned the other night. I'd have to do a bit more reading up on it, and should have done, really. It's not very good. But yes, green cards.
I think I've not done. First time I've heard of that, Parker. I know. I think aren't green cards in America whether they're allowed to stay or not. But I suppose it's not that. Yeah. But yeah, I don't really. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out, because obviously teams all look for advantages, don't they, in different ways. And if a player stays down for that extra 20-30 seconds, gives you extra 20-30 seconds of oxygen in the lungs, done it. So whether waving a green card at somebody gets them off the field any quicker is a thing, but we'll have to see.
This was the thing that Paul Rowley wasn't impressed with. He doesn't like the idea, whereas Matty Peter, Wigan, apparently is a fan, is that as Paul put it, it's the 79th minute of a game, it's all square. Mark Sneed goes in, gets tackled, but decides to stay down. The referee then can let him come away from the play of the ball, but still stay on the pitch and join the line. Then he's in position to take the drop goal.
Yeah.
And Paul Rowley thinks it could be misused, which, yes, it definitely could. And he's also, obviously mentioned about players feigning injuries. We saw it last year with Richie Myler and things like that could happen in this. So it's something I'm going to have to read up on, but it seems like another novelty from the Super League or, rugby league in general.
You'll have the opposition shouting for a red card and you shouting for a green card. Green card! Give me a green card, ref!
One way or another, he's getting a card.
Yeah, that's it. So score prediction, Parky, we'll do for both. Double chance for the Nando's.
I think Friday night it'd be probably a bit too much for our lads, especially with a lot of them backing up from 40 minutes on Sunday as well. Hunslet will need a good run, so I'll say I'll say 36-12 to Hunslet on Friday night.
Okay.
And Sunday, I think it might be quite tight. I know we have a style of play, but whether we're going to show it, you don't want to show all your cards. Whether we try and, because we seem to have a lot more forwards than we do backs. So whether we try and keep the backs out of the game a little bit. With it being Wigan and they don't lose at home, I don't like backing against us, obviously. But Sam Powell's testimonial put something in. I'll say 22-16 to Wigan.
Okay. I am going to go. I'm thinking Hunslet, obviously defeated in the first friendly, missed the second friendly because it froze off. It sounds like they're going to kind of play a bit of both. Few trialists, few players who didn't get to play in that first game. Opportunity for our lads to unsettle them. So I'm thinking Hunslet 10, Salford 16. First win for Stuart Wilkinson's boys there. And then on Sunday, after obviously 40 minutes against Swinton, loosening themselves off, thinking we'll go into the game full of confidence. I think obviously Wigan will be difficult to beat at home, but Wigan's first game at home, they'll want to go through the squad, won't they? So I think that'll disrupt their momentum as the game goes on. So I'm going to think we'll snatch it at the end. So I'm going to go Wigan 18, Salford 22. And Paul Rowley and Stuart Wilkinson celebrating come Sunday when both teams win.
I mean, it'd be nice. It'd be very nice. But you never can tell. They are only friendlies, only ones. They don't really give a massive indicator to the season. But the main thing for me is to come through without injuries.
Yeah.
We can ill afford that, and so fingers crossed. I might do a bit of praying Sunday morning just to try and get us through. Yeah.
So that's the end of this week's podcast. I want to say big thanks to all the people who have donated this week through the Ko-fi. It means more than you'll ever know. Obviously, we want to grow this podcast, and obviously, you buying coffees for me, Parky, and Paul makes all the difference when we're buying equipment and new programs to help your podcast experience to get better and better, Parky. So, what I say, massive thanks to our listeners who put their hands in their pockets.
Absolutely. The generosity of some people is just crazy, really, especially in these current times. There's plenty of other things you can do, but no, I did put it on Facebook the other day, and so I can't thank people enough for it. It's just enabling us to carry on. Really, that's the other thing. Paying for subscriptions and that kind of thing. It's in these times is difficult. So and obviously the upgrading equipment has been brilliant. So thank you very much to everybody who's contributed, and just for everybody for listening. That's the other thing. If you're happy enough listening to me waffle on, then you'll do for me.
Yeah, I've always said before, it does blow my mind that people take sort of an hour out of their lives every week just to listen to me, you, and Paul just talk Salford for an hour. Just blow my mind all over the world as well, not just in Salford. So we can't thank you enough for your support. And obviously, if you do want to sort of donate, you can find the link on our socials, and obviously, opportunity to help us grow. So big thanks for tuning to this week's Devil in the Detail podcast. I'm Rob Parkinson. You can find us on Facebook, Devil in the Detail SRD. You can find us on Twitter at DITDSRD. And you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Radio Contact, Spotify, and YouTube. See you soon.